What is going on YouTube and Spotify? This is the Just BSN podcast, and finally we have episode 40. We've been talking about it, and it's honestly gonna be a good episode because tonight, right now, currently, the Cavs just made their pick in the NBA draft. So we will talk about that here in just a minute. But obviously, some more news on the Cavs coaching search. It's officially done. We have our guy and some more Guardians talk. So, Andrew, how are we feeling tonight? Fresh off the Cavs pick here. How you feeling?
I feel good. I mean, I trust obviously what the Cavs front office is doing. We got our head coach, so everything seems to be starting to solidify, set in place. We've been talking about this for the last few weeks. That when is this going to get settled? When is this going to be ready? And we finally have our coach. We got our player pick. Everything's good. We're all good. We're cruising.
Yep. Yeah. So we're gonna go ahead and just start with the draft since that is fresh right now. This draft, like overall, like not even just Cavs related. Not really a whole lot of craziness going around. There wasn't trades. There wasn't a lot of really insane picks. Pretty standard. This has been the most least fun draft I think I've watched for the NBA here in a few years. But I also didn't really read up on a lot of the prospects, and I'm not going to try to act like I did because I did not. I just really don't care for college ball anymore. But the early picks were a lot of overseas guys. I think like two or three out of like the top five picks were from France alone. Top two I think were from France. So those have been very heavy in this draft. Um, what have your thoughts been, overall so far with the draft? I know we're at pick 22 right now, I think. I think the Suns are up right now, so the draft is still going on, but what has your feel been like so far on the draft?
I mean, it's probably as expected as we all thought.
Yeah.
It's a very generic, boring draft. Nobody's really making any trades except for the T Wolves trading their eighth pick that they've made to San Antonio for like a 2030 first rounder and a 2031 first rounder or a player to be selected, whatever. So that's the only thing that's crazy happened. It would have been funny if the Cavs did draft LeBron James Jr. just to stir everything and just cause chaos, and that would have been that would have made the draft perfect for tonight. Like just cause as much chaos as you can. Just be like, yeah, who do you think we're gonna go with? Duh, like we
Yeah.
drafted his dad 20 years ago. We're gonna do it for sure. like it's not, but no, it's a very generic. It's a very generic draft. It's very dull, boring. Like you said, a lot of overseas guys, which seems to be the case over the last few years now, where we're seeing more and more of these French and German and all these overseas type of players getting drafted in the first round, becoming elite stars. Your Kristaps Porzingis,
Yep.
Luka Doncic's, all these guys who are coming over. And to be honest with you, I think they have the advantage overseas. And I'm gonna point this in, as I would in soccer. I think overseas is a lot better than playing ball in America. The reason being, America is a more of a pay to play system. You can't play for these good soccer teams or these good AAU basketball teams unless your parents are loaded with money because you got to pay
Yeah.
$2,500 a year or like a month just to play on these teams for travel expenses, all this and that. And your kid might get lucky and get a D1 scholarship or might be lucky to get anything. And you spend all the money for all these years for nothing. Meanwhile, in Europe and overseas, these kids get to play for the best teams for free. Everything's already accommodated for them. They get to play for free. All these soccer players get to play for big time clubs from U9 all the way to the U23s for free as long as and they get contracts like how you would get a contract in a professional sport. These kids are signing legit contracts at 10 years old. And then they could get sold to any other club. They can get sold to any other basketball team. Like, it's just normal business. Now, I think that's why these European teams and these European players are getting the advantage over the U.S. is because they can play for better coaches with, you know, no money needed. Like they don't need money to have the best coaches teach them. Like Luka Doncic and all these guys, they didn't pay a dime for the coaches they had overseas, and they got to play for the best basketball teams in Europe just because they could. And over here in the U.S., you got to pay thousands upon thousands just to even do that. And as we're seeing America definitely be taking the backseat, not and just in our own sports, baseball, basketball. I'm sure it might happen in football soon enough if overseas picked up on football as much as we did. You know, they just have better systems over there where it's free. You can play wherever you want, whenever you want. Over here, if you have maybe a $10,000, sure, go for it. But if not, you're shit out of luck, kid. They don't draft inner city kids anymore.
I mean, I think personally, when it comes to the kids that are coming from the overseas, is I think they're just being developed better too. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you just said they come out of better, overall systems. That's part of it for sure. But they actually focus on the fundamentals. They focus on things that actually matter. I think in America, especially with basketball, you get a lot of these AAU kids, and you get the LaMelo Ball type players who are freakishly talented at athletically. They can shoot from every part of the court, but they're shitty defenders. Their
Lazy.
basketball IQ is somewhat high, but then you pair them up against a guy like Luca, who can make some of these freakish passes that only LeBron really can make.
Yeah.
It's sad. It's sad that the American youth system overall is really starting to dwindle, and that's why you're seeing guys even
Mhm.
instead of going to college, in America, they're going overseas or they're going to Ignite and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And they're just getting developed quicker and they're getting developed better, especially when they already have the athleticism to do so. It just makes it easier for them to just say, screw it, I know I'm going to do this. I don't need to do
Yep.
anything else. And I think they're just developed better. And so when you get guys like, uh, Luca, Wemby, all
Jokic.
those guys that have just been absolutely freakish, they've been like that because they were brought up in good systems that taught them all of the fundamentals that they needed to be successful. And that's just what it comes down to.
Yeah, and watch those guys play. Watch Luca play. Watch Jokic play. Watch how these guys play ball. They don't even try. They don't sprint up and down the court. They don't like. It's like they just know what's gonna happen when it happens. Like Luca's walking up the court and then just, all right, let me slip this ball right through this guy's legs for a nice easy bounce pass
Yeah.
down the middle of the court and for an easy layup, or Jokic who's sitting there just, oh, oh, easy. Like, and they're not even, it's still, they're playing in like slow motion. It's like they're not even trying. And they're dropping 40 a night. Like it's nothing. And you got all these guys like, your Tatum's and stuff like that who are tryhards and trying so hard and they can barely scrape up 26 a night. Meanwhile, Luca's just sitting there toying with your stupid ass and just throwing up 35. And same with Luca. And it's like, these guys aren't even trying. They're slow motion players. They're just walking. They're just chit chatting. They're just, oh, all right, step back.
Yeah.
Oh, bounce past through your dumb legs. Oh,
Especially
it's,
Joker, man. Like that dude is he looks like the laziest, most nonchalant
yeah.
player ever, but he's won MVP 3 years in a row. And that's because he's just that good.
Yeah, because he'll hang 40 on you like it was nothing. And this thing is, look at the MVP votings. The top two were Luca and Jokic.
Yeah. And again, in my opinion, I think Luka deserved it more,
Oh,
but
100%.
Jokic is still a freak, and like it's hard to not want to
Pick
vote for
him.
him when he just
Yeah,
consistently has these like damn near triple double
every
years.
night.
So it's like it seems like that is now the more sought out type of players that you're gonna see in these drafts over college players because they're just not developed the same,
Mm-hmm.
and you can see it very heavily every time you see a college player come out in the top five compared to these guys that come from France and stuff. These guys that come from overseas, they're ready to start now. You know,
One,
if you were to draft a Bronny tonight, which we didn't, but if you would have drafted Bronny and you're putting him in a position to quite literally play minutes in the NBA right now, it's just he's not ready for it. It's
no.
not even going to happen. and that's why teams aren't going to go for him
Mhm.
in the in the first round. I know people want LeBron to follow him. I don't even think he will. I think he's going to want
No.
to let Bronny have his own
Career.
legacy and have his own career. And so Bronny's not ready at all. And the
No.
kid's going to be good. He's going to be a good shooter. He's going to be a nice, like, solid guy where he could start, but he could also be a role player that could be a very good role player because he's a better shooter. He's not as big as LeBron was, but he's also not as big as his brother. And I'm really curious to see what Bryce ends up becoming as he gets more and more involved uh, in high school and stuff, and stuff like that. So, but yeah, the overseas players are just more sought off, and I think that's going to be a trend that continues until college ball decides to switch up and starts to not get so involved in these like AAU programs that are just it's ruining the player base. Sure, these
Yeah.
guys are talented, but the competition is so up and down. It's either it's two freakish teams playing or it's one freakish team and one horrible team. It's so weird,
Well,
and I
watching
can't
those
I can't
like
stand it.
no, and it's like watching those was it those hoop remix videos of like the
Yeah,
young AAU kids, and they're sitting there trying to cross each other over, and they have attitudes. They're trying to cross people out, chuck threes from 50 feet. Like that's not the way the game's. Like they're trying to make the game like that now, and it's not like that. You can't be Steph Curry shooting 35 feet threes and making them all the time because you're not Steph Curry. He's the only one who could do that. You cannot. And it's not to say you're not going to be a good player, but sitting there trying so hard to play iso ball the entire time and cross this dude up and get a highlight reel and shit, like that's all it's about now. It's all about making your own highlight reel, and you know, and now with the NILs in college, kids are chasing the NIL deals. They're chasing the millions of dollars they can get just to go to college, and they're probably going to fail out of classes and stuff like that because guess what? They're making 4 mil just playing college basketball. They don't need to go to class. They don't need education. They're making bank, and then they're going to get drafted. What's the point of college now? Like I get it. Yes, college players do deserve to get paid and stuff like that. I really do, but I think there needs to be incentives. Like you must stay in college for at least 2 years and play and at least get some kind of like associate's degree or something. Like you must play for 2 years so you can get your associate's degree.
yeah,
So that way, if you do fail college ball, at least you have 2 years left of college you can go back to and finish and get your
yeah.
bachelor's degree. Like there needs to be some kind of like incentive, not oh well we'll give you $5 million and then you could just leave us your freshman year and go play in the NBA and die in the NBA because
It
you're not going
needs
to
to
be
be
good
like
enough.
college football where you at least have to play until after your sophomore year. After
Yeah,
your sophomore year. There you go.
exactly. Because the thing is with Bronny, like, don't get me wrong, I would love the kid, but I think he needs to get out of USC so he can get good minutes somewhere else in the college team.
Should have went to OSU.
Yeah, he could have been an everyday starter,
Yeah.
and he probably could have been better developed.
Mhm.
Now, I'm sure he will go undrafted and play his first couple of years in the G League just so he can get right. But
The point
listen,
is he needs more time.
yeah, and the thing is, I know LeBron's not gonna hammer him. Like LeBron's gonna be like, listen, all of these is your decision. Same thing with Bryce when he gets up there. It's all your decision. I'm not gonna have a say in it. Like whatever you do it. And if your career fails, hey, that's not on me, baby. That's on
Yeah,
you.
exactly.
Like I'm not the one who failed your career. You're the one who failed it yourself. So I told you should have stayed in college. Your ass wanted to go to the draft. Hey, that's on you, Bucko. Like you go to the draft and you screw your career right from the get go. Just because I got drafted at 18, that's because I was an actual fucking dog. And I was literally ready for the NBA at 16.
Yeah, at 16 he was that good.
So
And so
it's
yeah,
wild.
it is wild. But the point is the Cavs did not make that. They
Yeah.
actually starting to look into this guy that we drafted. So with the 20th pick, we drafted Jalen Tyson from California, or UCal, and the kid actually has some pretty good numbers. He has
Hmm.
pretty good size. He's pretty much built like a Coro that can shoot better than a Coro,
Yeah.
and score a little bit better than a Coro. 6'6". in half, 215. I think his wingspan is quite literally the same as Okoro's. He just looks a little like a little bit, you know, lengthier in his arms because I think he's just a skinnier build than Okoro is. And I don't think he's necessarily as athletic as Okoro is, but he's better as at shooting and he's much better at passing, and he's still a pretty good defender. So if we lose Okoro, that's going to be the guy that's going to replace him. So maybe that's what they're trying to think there. I think he has some good minutes at small forward, and even shooting guard and stuff. So that'll be fine. Apparently he was at the top of the Cavs leaderboard. I know a lot of people are kind of like weird on this pick because they just don't know, and I didn't know either. But if the Cavs liked him and that was their guy, then they got their guy. Like, you got to understand when you're drafting picks after the top 10 in the, NBA draft, the players are different. It's either you're going to hit on a hidden gem or it's just going to be another G League guy for 5 years before he becomes a journeyman. And that's just the reality of the NBA draft. It is not like the NFL draft where you can find a quality guy in the third or fourth round and he can give you 5 or 6 good years on your NFL team. It's just not like that in the in the NBA. So take that with a grain of salt. We still have a lot of good young players, and I think that's the benefit of the Cavs right now. We still don't know what Monty Bates can do in the big leagues. I mean, we saw what he did in the G League. He fucking killed it. We have Sam Merrill still, who's a definite baller. The kid needs more minutes. So, guys are going to get a chance, especially with Kenny. I think everybody's going to have a pretty fresh slate, a fresh, clean slate with him. And, he's going to still have some players on this team, especially if we keep guys like Jared Allen and, Karis LeVert. I think he was with Donnie a little bit as well at one point. So these guys are somewhat familiar with him. They know his vibe. They know the way that he, prepares. And it sounds like everybody's, excited about him, which Kenny Atkinson was the guy that the Cavs did end up getting. I know it was between him and Borrego. Woj literally just dropped a bomb like 20 minutes ago that he signed his 5-year deal. So that is finalized, complete. The only weird thing right now that I haven't seen is the Cavs have not put anything on their social media about drafting Jalen Tyson. And that kind of gives me a little bit of a thing of, hey, are they working with trades right now, quietly, or are they just waiting for whatever? That is a little bit of a weird thing, because usually teams are right on the ball saying, welcome to Cleveland, blah, blah, blah. That hasn't happened yet. So I'm really curious to see what that ends up being. Hopefully there ends up being a bomb while we're recording, because that would be dope. But yeah, Jalen Tyson averaged about 20 points a game, like 6.5 rebounds, 3.5 assists. Shot about 40% from the field. I think he shot around 37 or 38% from three. So the kid can shoot, kid can defend, rebound, do all of the things that you need a small forward to do, and he has the potential to be a quality role player, and that's what the Cavs need. They do not need a big-time guy in this draft because you're just not getting that. And if you're one of these people that are like, well, you should have just got Bronny at that point. It's like, Bronny's 6'3". He's not playing those minutes. He's playing point guard and shooting guard minutes. And to be honest, I just, it is what it is. I'm not on the Bronny train at all. Like, the kid's going to be fine one day, but it's going to take him two or 3 years before he's NBA ready, in my opinion. So, but yeah, the Cavs have got, their guy, it sounds like, and that's really all that matters in this draft. I know Eddie was one of my personal favorites that could have dropped. He didn't even get out of the top 10. So he didn't even make it. So Jalen Tyson sounds like a fine pick. I'm not mad about it. I know some Cavs fans are like, why does, Altman still have a job or whatever? And I'm like, you guys know just as much as I know, which is nothing. So why don't we just let them decide what they're going to do and be fine with it? Because honestly, some of the guys that they had that have been undrafted, or, guys like Monty Bates, who was a late second-round pick last year, can turn into something decent. Let them cook and see what happens. That's really all I have to say about the draft at this point. It's just let them cook. let them see what they develop into. And if not, it's not a big loss because it's a pick that is not sought after. It's not a top 5 pick, so there's no stress or worry about that pick working out. Because after top 10, there's really no like anything can happen with those players at that point.
Yeah, I completely agree. And going to your point, the Cavs still have yet to post on social media about the pick, according to about everybody on Twitter. So I'm starting to think that there's something in the works, potentially, of maybe a trade that the Cavs are going to do. And if there's still no social media post, then something's going to happen, because usually effective immediately if someone gets drafted, the team would post about it again immediately. So I mean, obviously, if something happens, we'll just continue talking, and you know we'll figure it out soon enough. But as of right now, the no confirmation from the Cavs social media pages about the picks being confirmed. Really, like, so I'm wondering if they're excited because they're going to use them as trade bait. But no, like, I think Jalen Tyson is probably one of those guys who's going to maybe replace Isaac Okoro. I think the Cavs could potentially be done with Isaac. He doesn't really offer too much. He doesn't offer a lot of offense. His defense is good. He does play good defense, but I mean, you need to do both in the NBA nowadays. You need to be both good defender and good offensive player. He's not good offensively. Jalen Tyson is that kind of guy. He can create space shooting.
You can
He
shoot
can
off the dribble
he can
too.
shoot off the dribble. He has good spacing. He has good arm length. And the thing is too, you also have Amani Bates too as a forward. So in reality, I think the Cavs, if they do keep Jalen Tyson, it could be one of those things where Okoro's gone because they're like, listen, we got Amani Bates and we got Jalen Tyson. Like, we don't need you because we could just use either one of those guys. And if they do get rid of Jalen Tyson, it means they probably fully believe in Amani Bates, and they might have him as the backup forward. So, and you don't even know what you're going to do with Niang yet either.
Yeah.
So there's a couple guys that have question marks above their head, and that's why I've been kind of like looking around Twitter to seeing if there is any official posts about you know Tyson being drafted. Because I mean, if there's really nothing to be posted, then something's going on, and it could be a package deal with maybe like an Isaac Okoro to another team, and it could be something. So, but I looking at the kid's stats, Jalen Tyson's not bad. Like you said, he's a good shooter, shooting nearly around 47% from field goal percentage, shooting 38% from three. I mean, he's averaging 20 a game with 7 rebounds,
It
almost
is
four
really
assists.
funny that like even on ESPN, his pro comparison was quite literally Isaac Agoro.
Which is kind of, yeah, which is funny because like he's better offensively.
Yeah, like it's goofy because I mean I know he's sort of built the same. He's even built sort of the same as Levert, you
I
know.
think that
So
I think that's why, because he is built the same.
yeah,
But I just personally believe that he is a lot better,
so yeah, we'll
and
see.
looks a lot better. Yeah,
Yeah, I
it's
mean
a
we'll
we'll
see.
see. But again, um, there's no confirmation from the Twitter's about
Which
the pick staying. So
I'm sure if they're gonna keep him, I think they're just waiting on Atkinson to like officially sign off, and then maybe
yeah,
they do a joint post like that. Who knows? I don't know. They could be having to work on 2 different posts with their their media team. Who knows? But
yeah.
yeah, it is weird. But to go back to Atkinson, he is going to sign his 5-year deal that has been official from Woj. So the Cavs have made their choice. Apparently, Dan Gilbert was the guy that ultimately made the decision. Not sure how I feel about that, considering his last 2 coaching picks. or guys that didn't even make it a full year for us. What was your take when you heard that Gilbert was like significantly part of the choosing of the head coach instead of front of office guys and stuff like that?
I think when it comes to that, I think he should have just stepped aside and just let the front office do their thing.
Yeah.
Because I think the front office wanted Borrego. I think the front office number one guy was literally James Borrego, and they were like inches away from getting him in. And then Gilbert's like, I like Kenny Atkinson better. Let's do Kenny Atkinson. I'm just gonna lock in Kenny Atkinson, and it's like, oh, okay, then what's the point of having a team
Yeah.
to make decisions if you're just gonna make the ultimate decision anyway? So what's the point of having these guys around if you're not gonna let them do their job? And it's the same thing with the NFL that we've seen all the fucking time, where it's like, oh, we're
The
gonna get
owners
this
get too
guy,
involved. Yep.
yeah, and the owners get too involved. They're like, well, I like this guy better. It's like the same thing that happened with Freddie Kitchens and Joe Woods when he came as a coordinator, and
Or
Hugh
literally
Jackson.
anything Dallas related.
Yeah, or anything Cowboys related, because Jerry Jones has to pick his nose and fucking get his hands dirty and everything.
Yeah, he's literally
Like,
involved in everything there.
like I think Dan Gilbert should just kept out of the way, let the guys do their thing. And again, I mean, wasn't David Blatt a hire that um
It
he
might have
made?
been. I know a lot of his picks have been Beheim, and I think Larry Drew might have been the other one,
Yeah,
or
Larry
I think it
Drew
was
and
Larry
John
Drew,
Beeline.
and they both couldn't make it past a year. And both of the times that that happened, because I think Larry Drew was the backup
Yeah.
to Beeline, and then JB was the backup basically to him. So
Yeah.
like he got saved because the assistant coaches were really really good, and
And yeah.
ultimately got the job.
And Ty Lue was Kobe Altman and the boys.
Yeah, but that and that was Blatt's replacement, and
Yeah.
that was all LeBron in my opinion. I don't care what anybody says.
That was LeBron.
100% that was on LeBron. LeBron did not like David Blatt for whatever reason because they were winning games. Like they won over 30 games. It was exactly almost like how the Bucks just got rid of their coach and
Yeah.
then went to Doc. Like it made no sense because they had a winning fucking record of like 31-18, and then they're just like, yep, definitely not good enough. Goodbye. And you're like, huh? The dude's winning games. So it was weird, but whatever happened with Blatt is whatever. Um, I'm sure Blatt would have done really well with like a young NBA team if he had that chance. And I think that's what he was brought in to do originally. And then LeBron got moved here, and then it was Love, and then all of a sudden you have a big three of Kai, LeBron, and Love, and you're like, oh, like these guys are gonna just overrule everything, and that's kind of what happened to him. But yeah, Atkinson was the favorite for Dan Gilbert. It's weird, and I listen. I know we were both Borrego guys, which I know you were especially. I was pretty much on board with that, but I still don't actually think
I
Atkinson
don't.
was like a terrible choice. I think it was
No,
like
not
one
at
A
all.
and one B.
Yeah, no. I just, for me, I just preferred Borrego over Atkinson. I wasn't gonna be mad either way of who we chose, because either way, if we went with Borrego or Atkinson, I was fine with either or. Like I was gonna be like, okay, both are great coaches. I'll take either one. The reason why I do like Atkinson is because he's worked with Jared Allen before. He's worked with Karis LeVert, so he knows two guys well. He is a good guy for offensive abilities. He's good at and like Borrego, he's good at unlocking young players. So he could help unlock Evan Mobley.
Yeah,
So I'm not mad at the Kenny Atkinson. I'm welcoming Kenny Atkinson with full arms.
yeah,
Listen, welcome to the Cavs. Like, I'm happy to have you here. I already know you're better than JB Bickerstaff, so that's why I'm not mad, because it's already a huge upgrade
yeah,
already.
yeah,
But but no, I was more of a Borrego guy, sure, but Kenny Atkinson again was option number two for me in my book. So either way, you had option one or option two. They went with option two, and I was like, okay, that's fine, whatever. I do wish that Gilbert and other owners would just keep their hands out of the place of what the GM is supposed to do and what the other guys in the front
If
office are
anything,
supposed to
give it
do.
to the players because at
Yeah.
least the players have the hands on. Like that's why I think they went with him is because you had guys like Allen Levert,
Hmm. And they
that
probably went to
have
them and said, "Hey, we like Kenny Atkinson. He's not a
yeah
bad coach. Like we
yeah,
like him."
and it sounded like Donovan all sort of okayed it. It wasn't because of them, but I think it gave them more confidence to say, hey, this is the guy. And it really sounded like Beret Bariga was the guy until the week of
Yeah.
us getting him. So
And the thing is, too, the Nets did really well with Atkinson at the
they
helm,
did, yeah.
and they
They
were
balled.
playing really. They balled out, but then he got fired because then they got Kevin Durant, Kyrie, and
Yeah,
they wanted nothing to do with him, and shipped him off, and because they wanted Steve Nash, and Steve Nash just tanked hard as fuck,
yeah.
and
I
the
mean,
and the Brooklyn Nets didn't do jack shit. So I think if they would have kept Kenny Atkinson, they would have been completely fine.
yeah.
But yeah, no, Atkinson balled the fuck out with the Brooklyn Nets, took him to the playoffs and whatnot, and then obviously he had success with the Golden State Warriors as an assistant.
Yeah. I mean,
So
he's part of winning basketball. He's won a ring with them. So, like,
yeah, so
he knows how
it's
to
a good
win.
guy to bring in. It's a great guy to bring in, and also too, the Cavs did just post on their social media about Jalen Tyson, so
All
it is
right.
confirmed.
Dang.
It is confirmed. Jalen Tyson is a Cavalier.
So,
Um, I do not like the comparison of Isaac Okoro. That scares the fuck out of me sometimes, but we're just gonna let it go. Um, I think he's 20 times better than Isaac Okoro because Isaac Okoro only averaged like 10 points in college. This guy's averaging 20, so I don't see where they get the fucking comparison of Isaac Okoro. But I digress. Those people in the media for the NBA and whatnot don't know how to do their jobs when it comes to player comparison because none of them know ball.
yeah.
So so don't believe in player comparisons because a lot of those people just don't know
Yeah,
fucking
they're
ball.
goofy. They're goofy. And this might not even be a guy that's going to replace Okoro. It could replace
Yeah,
Levert. Levert could be on the out. I know we signed him last year, but he has,
yeah.
a contract that's somewhat friendly. And if they didn't like how he performed in the playoffs, like I'm sure a lot of us felt, that's a guy that you
Mm-hmm.
might want to move because the reality is the starting five did a lot of the work when they were healthy. It was the role players that did not facilitate enough, didn't contribute enough, and that's what we thought we had when we made these moves to get Niang and have guys like Sam Merrill come up. It's just the way the season ended and just how it reflected us really stank. But my question to you is to go back to Atkinson being hired is, do you think that he can make the impact that's needed for this team to be able to actually contend for a championship, or is it still going to come down to, hey, we need to make another trade or two in order to really change out the roster? Because in my opinion, I still think the roster needs a little bit of work, more so with the role players, unless you want to move on from Allen, which I think is the guy that ends up being the odd man out in that starting lineup anyway. So, what is your thoughts there on that?
No, I'm 1,000% with you. I think there needs to be at least one or two more decisions to trade for before we can completely say like this is a championship contending ball team. So I would say again, it's all role players like bench guys and whatnot who comes off the bench and whatnot. You can get rid of your Georges Niang. You can get rid of maybe a Karis LeVert. You can get rid of a couple of these guys who you probably no longer need and don't need service of. And you can say, listen, we'll try and sign at least a couple players that are solid for us and have impacts. Like Ricky Rubio had a good impact, or you know, Rajon Rondo when he was here, he had a decent impact on the team. Like you just need guys who have positive impact and can just make good decisions with the ball, play good ball, and they're gonna make a trade and they're gonna use a couple of these guys as trade bait and be like, listen, we just want a couple of decent players. And this is where you try and go after maybe a Brandon Ingram type of guy. This is maybe where you go and try and get a Cam Johnson or something. So I'm sure the Cavs have maybe Altman has something up his sleeve to where he might get one or two guys in here to try and elevate the roster. Because again, I think the Cavs have a great starting five. They just have no bench depth. None.
They never have.
And the thing is too, the bench depth they do have JB never played. Sam Merrill never played. Um,
I
well,
mean, all the
or
guys that he did play were always inconsistent. You
yeah,
angle for two guys
yeah,
automatically that were just inconsistent. Okoro, who was a guy
inconsistent.
that's like, it's almost like it's better off to start him because he ends up facilitating a little bit better, but he just can't fucking score. I don't know what it is about Okoro, but he
Yeah,
cannot score efficiently, shoot efficiently. I mean, he shot better this year, but that still didn't matter because when we
yeah.
needed him, he would go 0 for 6.
Well, and then
So
you bring on Sam Merrill, who drained like 6 threes in a row, and
yeah,
then
he
get
can make
subbed
eight
out.
threes in a game, and you're not playing him.
Yeah, so they're gonna. I think they're gonna focus on upgrading that bench for Kenny Atkinson, and Kenny Atkinson's probably looking at that bench like this bench is fucking horrible, and we
Or
need.
or he's gonna say, hey, guys like Bates and stuff, they're gonna get some time because they deserve it
Yeah,
because
and the
they
thing is,
can score, and you
and
just
the
gotta
thing
trust
is,
them.
he's not afraid to give those guys time at all
Yeah,
either. He like JB's like looking at that bench and sees Amani Bates and sees fucking Sam Merrill. He goes, "Ooh, never mind. You guys just stay out there. You just stay out there." And like, I'm not gonna put those guys in.
or even
Like,
Porter Jr. Porter Jr. Like
he
the
was playing
kid
really
played
well,
pretty good minutes, and they didn't give him enough of a shot.
and then he ended up getting injured, which kind of sucked.
Yeah,
But with the time he did come in, he was impactful. He was making baskets. He was driving to the basket, making layups and shit. Like,
yeah.
he was playing impactful basketball. But JB just didn't trust those guys. He wanted to keep their starting five in for the whole 48 minutes and gas them. And then by the time he did put people in, everyone was too tired already, and we blow the fucking lead and lose games and stuff. Like JB, go coach Detroit, go do whatever. Like, but we need a coach who can trust the bench depth, and allow everyone to get minutes and get rest and stuff like that. Because watching these teams in the playoffs play against us, like the Celtics and the Magic, they would have their guys starting five play an average of like 34 minutes, 33 minutes, and whatnot. And their bench guys would get at least double digit minutes no matter what. And that's where they killed you. And guess what? You lost a game because they would look at the stats. Yeah, the two starting five teams were very comparable. They were even. But the benches was what won the games for those teams. The Cavs, 8 bench points. The Celtics or the Magic, 38 bench points. Like, that's
And the
where you
only
fucking lost, is right
yeah,
there. You lost there in the bench points column. That's where you need to go, JB.
and
Like, go to the bench.
the only way that we would win those tie-up games is if our starting five literally scored 20 points apiece. Like,
Yeah.
and that and that was the thing that happened. Like the core four would score 20, 25 points each. Be like, okay, fuck yeah, that's great. Like you just scored 100 points in the starting lineup. That's awesome. But it doesn't happen every game, and you can't
No.
rely on that. And you can't rely on guys like Garland and Mobley and Donovan playing 38 plus minutes a game and expecting them just because they're young to be able to withstand that. Everybody gets tired, everybody gets hurt. That's what happened to Donovan. Donovan was just over fucking used. Garland was overused. Mobley got overused. You need to find a way to split things up, especially in the season. In playoff time, listen, I understand guys are going to play 40 minutes in the postseason because it's just the reality of it. Like that's what happened with LeBron. LeBron would play 48 minutes, but he knew and he didn't care at all that he had to play those minutes. So, it's unfortunate that that was the case for us in so many ways, and it absolutely pissed me off when he would do that. And somehow we lost our boy here, so I'm hoping he gets back. Sounds like probably had an internet issue, but yeah, it's just me right now. But it really upset me when these guys would play 40 minutes a game. It wouldn't work. It wouldn't work for us every single game. Sure, it would work for us for 5 games out of a stretch, but again, guys get gassed very, very quickly, and it's very tough as a team to be able to withstand that. And it's unfortunate. So hopefully Atkinson gives us the ability to not have that issue. And I'm really curious to see if we end up having to make some sort of trades or anything like that that is really going to really facilitate and really hone out this team that we really need to, because I think we're one or two players away from being a top contending team. So, and I know going back to Atkinson, real quick, Tom Withers from the AP, who I have a lot of familiarity with, um, he said that he has not signed his 5-year deal just yet, but it is in the works and it is expected to be signed officially tomorrow. So I'm hoping that that will be the case. I'm trying to see what happened to Andrew. Um, so yeah, I'm just gonna keep yapping until we get Andrew back in here because I don't want to totally end the video or anything. But I'm gonna move on to some Guardians talk because we've been talking Cavs for quite a bit, and I might as well talk about the big name today, Joel Jonsky or Jowinski. I probably have pronounced his name incorrectly, but was brought up today for Angel Rodriguez and immediately contributed. The dude hit a home run right out of the gate, his first at bat. And the Guardians lost 4-2 today because we had Carrasco on the mound, and I think Xavier Rodriguez. I forget his first name, but Rodriguez went 3 innings and unfortunately gave up a few home runs. So lost 4-2. Against the Orioles, but the Orioles are one of the best teams in the major leagues. But the funny part is the Guardians are the best team in the league in terms of their record. So the Guardians have made a hell of an impact. They have made quite. Hey, and there he is. I've been yapping. I've been doing it. I've been keeping it going. I don't know what happened to you, but I just kept rolling, and I'm moving into Guardians talk. I just talked about Johnsky hitting his home run today, immediately having to make his impact. So I guess now that you're back, I don't know what happened there, but now that you're back, we lost 4-2 today, but Johnsky literally made an impact right away. His first at bat hits a nuke of a home run. What did you like from him? I know he's more of a first baseman slash outfielder, so he's a little bit flexible. Do you see him being able to actually contribute enough to stay on the roster for long term here?
I definitely think so. And apologies for the internet crashing out. It just happened out of nowhere. Like
I know.
it just
I'm really happy that I just kept it going. Like I just kept going, so it was great.
I mean, hey, as long as you kept it going, that's all that
Mhm.
matters. Do the
Episode's gonna be
thing.
funny for sure
The
when we
episode's
put it
gonna be
down.
absolutely hilarious because if you watch on YouTube, you're just gonna see me just fucking disappear for like two,
Hmm.
3 minutes and just come back for no reason. But
Just hear me yapping.
but hey, as long as nothing got interrupted, everything's good. That's all that matters. But I could go into John Kenzie Noel. I think he's gonna be an absolute like he was a beast in Columbus. I mean, he was banned. So I think it was some like
Oh, dude, he was hitting
390.
homers every night. It seemed like.
Yeah, he was batting like 390, 400, hitting like a home run every other night. And I think his average when he came up was right at like the 310 mark or some shit. And I think there's something going on. First and foremost, I think something's wrong with Josh Naylor because
Yeah.
this is 3 games in a row where he hasn't started or played. And I was at the game on Sunday
Mhm.
before the road trip, and he did get stepped on his hand. I think he was sliding into third base, and the throw was coming to third, and they were trying to make a tag, and the guy accidentally stepped on his hand. It was purely accidental. He stomped on his hand, and he could have like a hand fracture or something. Like something could be going on, and I think that's why you're seeing John Kenzie Noel coming up, and all these
You
different
could
people
even see
playing first place.
Manzardo now at that point. I mean, if he's gonna be out
Yeah,
experienced, extended amount of
yeah,
time, you could see that.
yeah, definitely. And I tell you what, his first game was really, really insane. I mean, the question was he gonna come up and just keep that bat hot? And I mean, literally, first at bat just smokes a 400-foot bomb, and I mean, I think that's all we needed to see from him right then and there. It was just, all right, the bat's still hot. He still smoked it. So I think you're gonna see him start in the next couple of games, probably at first base. Now that Josh Naylor's out, um, Or you might see him and Arias interchange because Arias has been hitting the ball really well as of late too. So
Feel like
I
he's
think
gonna get a drug test soon. just
probably,
because
to be
just because he's
honest.
been hitting bombs lately. It's weird.
Yeah, and hey, listen, as long as these guys continue to produce that we keep bringing up, I'm all for it. And that's the thing I mentioned to people earlier was you had guys who get called up like Schneeman, Noel. These guys are not just coming up, but these guys are coming up and contributing to the team or contributing to the team. Noel hitting home run, Schneeman continuing to bat over 300, even now that he's been up here for 2 weeks now, or a few weeks now. He's been hitting the ball really well. Like these are the guys that need to stay on the team. Now again, John Kenzie needs a couple games, obviously, just to see what the feel is and see if he can continue to produce like he did today. But I liked it. I loved it. I'm happy for the big man to get his first major league home run and his first at bat after he threw his bat on the pitch before and probably almost killed someone. Because I don't know if you saw that, but
Right.
and the pitch before he hit the home run, he swung and missed, and the bat went flying, and then next thing you know, the ball went flying on the next pitch.
Yeah. So I mean, Noel made a great, for first impression, and
Absolutely.
I haven't heard anything bad on Nate Naylor. I've heard it's just
Yeah,
something that's kind of
I'm monitoring
meh
him.
to monitor. It doesn't sound like it's anything serious. I think we're
Good.
just being precautionary. But the cool thing is the other Naylor, bro. I think Bo Naylor's back, baby.
I
Bo
think he
Naylor's
is
been
too.
smacking the ball around again. And I think he's gaining the confidence.
I
And that's what we've been saying. Like, hey, he just needs confidence. It's just all up here. Once he gets that, he's got the the tangibles. He has the ability to hit homers. He has the ability to get on base, and he has a great defender as a guy behind the plate. So it's just a matter of just being patient with a kid like that. He's still very young. Let him work through it. And once he does, he's going to start lighting it up again. He's going to be fun to watch.
I think once he got a couple of hits over the weekend and during Seattle, whatnot, I think that started to
Big
kick in
game,
because
yeah.
he started to hit a couple doubles against Seattle. Then he hit, I think it was a home run against Toronto, and I think he's like, all right, like the spark is back. Like I'm feeling it. Then obviously against Baltimore, he was just smacking that ball around everywhere, and he got his first major league triple the other day as well. So yeah, that's what we've definitely been talking about. That we've been needing him to get hot, get on base, get some hits. That batting average literally just went from 165, 170 to now around the 200, just above 200 mark. So
Yeah.
everything's been looking good. The boys are stepping up, and it's like I said, even the guys who just got caught up, like Noel and Schneeman, they're hitting well. Especially Schneeman.
Demons hit the shit out of the ball, man.
Schneeman's been up here for now nearly a month, and he has been hitting the shit out of the ball. And you kind of wish Manzardo was up here to be a part of the party, but he was hot too. He was getting hot too before he got sent down. He was hitting a lot of doubles.
Yeah.
Before he got sent down, he hit almost 16 or 15, 16 doubles, and so he was getting on a rampage on hitting wise. So I think the Guardians have something rolling with those guys, and to be honest too, and we might see it, but a couple of those guys might be used as trade bait coming at the deadline to get us a really good pitcher. And you know, it could be Manzardo gone. It could be maybe one of the other guys gone, like Jose Tena in AAA and whatnot, and just use as trade bait to be like, hey, listen, give us your pitcher, and we'll give you some great studs.
Also, to go back to Josh Naylor, he pinch hit today and he got
Okay,
walked.
okay,
So he's playing. I think they're just giving him a little bit of a breather on having to field balls and just be a guy. Because if his hand is even bruised, I'm sure catching the ball sucks as well. So maybe
oh,
that's it
thousand
too.
percent. And
And
I
if
think
that's the
I,
case, I don't think that's a big deal at all.
I think it is this catching hand too that got stomped on.
Yeah. So I mean that makes sense. We only had 5 hits today. It was a pretty rough game, but I think the Orioles had their ace on the mound today. Rodriguez. He's 9-3. Dude went 7 innings, 5 hits, two earned, 4 Ks, on 97 pitches. So I mean, the dude did his job, and Carrasco didn't have a bad game, and I think that's the second game in a row that he's went 5 innings plus and contributed finally.
Yeah.
So I think his sweet spot is 5 innings. It's just with freaking Xavier Curry. I don't know why he went 3 innings today in pitch. I don't know if they were just trying to give our bullpen a break. But him going 3 innings and giving up 2 earned runs on 3 hits, and they were both home runs or the earned runs. Just weird to me. It's a weird game, but again, they take 2 out of 3 out of the Orioles, and I am not sure. Do they play them again tomorrow? No,
We
they
play
don't.
no, we play 4 games against
Royals,
Kansas City.
which is a division opponent. So that's the one that matters more. The Orioles really don't matter. It's just hey, the Orioles are a top team. Let's see how we compete with them, and we took 2 out of 3 there. Cool, I like that. We took some games from Mariners. We took some games from Toronto. Things are starting to look good, and to go back into it, and I kind of mentioned this before you get back on from your internet being a piece of shit. The Guardians hold the best record in the major leagues right now. It might have changed because of the loss today, but I know behind them is the Phillies. And look, if you look at again, and we've talked about the payroll that we have in comparison to a team like the Phillies or New York, their payroll is almost double what we have. It's insane, and I think that's why. And I think Gabby said this on Twitter, so I do want to shout her out on this thought. But we got to stop flexing the whole payroll thing. Let's go pay some people. Like, let's go get a guy that is going to actually contribute
Mm-hmm.
and is going to cost us a little bit of money. Because you know what, we're winning some games. Let's go fucking all out. Out again. We haven't done that since 2016, and that was a fun year. We're winning games. We're the best team in baseball right now. Let's go all out. We have a chance to do it. Let's go all out. Fuck it.
Yeah, no, and that's the thing too, because that year we made the World Series because we went out and we got Andrew Miller, and he was, and we only made that one trade, and that was
The
the piece
AL
we needed.
MVP at that point for that ALCS
Yeah,
MVP because he pitched so many damn innings. Oh my god, that dude pitched
yeah.
so much.
Well, and that's the thing too. Like, it seems like at that point we were just one guy away from going all the way, and we did, and we almost won the World Series. And I think the Guardians are, and probably the front office are looking at it again, like, hey, look what we did in 2016. We made a risk. We got a great reliever and Andrew Miller to come in, and we made the World Series. I think we're 1 or 2 pieces away from doing it all over again. The hitting is going to continue to do well. We just need 1 or 2 guys to be in the pitcher's mound, or at least one guy, because Gavin Williams should be back relatively soon. He should be back by the homestand.
Yeah.
And it's like, listen, Gavin Williams will be back. We just need to get another good starter so we can ship away Carrasco, or have McKenzie go on IL. And I want to talk about McKenzie for a minute after this, but
Yes. Me too.
I personally think that if you can do what you did in 2016, go out and get another pitcher, you have an insane chance of making the World Series. And
Insane.
we have, like you said, well, now the Phillies just won, so they are now again top of the MLB over us. The Yankees are losing 11-2 to the Mets. So the Yankees are
that's funny.
It's fucking hilarious.
Because the Mets suck.
So the Yankees are getting demolished by the fucking Mets right now, which is absolutely hysterical to see. They're bragging about Judge's 30th home run. It's like, oh boy, his 30th home run, but you're getting your asses kicked.
Your pitching still sucks.
Yeah, and also too, like, I forgot the point I was gonna make, but we had the best record. And going to your point of the Orioles had the 4th best record. And that's a team you could potentially see in the postseason. And just to go 2 for 3 against the Orioles away in Baltimore, it gives me so much confidence going into the playoffs and being like, listen, we got to play Baltimore again in Baltimore. Done. Like, we could and the thing is, the Guardians would actually host that game because we have a better record. So that game would be 2, especially in the first round. I think it's a best of 5. So you only played a best of 3. You only played 3 games. Listen, majority of the games in Cleveland, I'll take that every fucking day of the week. And you can handle the Yankees. Yeah, you lost 2 of 3 to the Yankees, but we all know that first game was bullshit because there's no way Estevan Florial struck out looking when the pitch was by his ankle. Like, how is a slider at his ankle a strikeout? Like, and the Guardians had 2 guys on base, and a base hit basically wins the game. So we got screwed on that one. But I digress on that. I think you could take the Yankees. I think you've shown you could take on the Orioles. You did well against Kansas City the first go around. Now you go to their ballpark and see if you can handle them there. If you can take 3 out of 4 against Kansas City, I think everyone changes their entire mind and says that this team is absolutely legit. And the only thing that's stopping them is a starting pitcher. And if they can get a starter, you might want to watch out because this team can go on a deep run and potentially again shock everyone and go to, because I don't think anyone predicted the Indians to make the World Series in 2016, let alone the Guardians in 2024. And if we could do that, everyone's gonna be like, we slept on them and they're demolishing everybody and they're killing everybody. So that's what I think that's where things are at there. Going to McKenzie, I saw this thing on Twitter, this post on Twitter the other day, and I thought it was very intriguing, Zach, and I want to know your opinion on it.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can re-find the post. It was from over the weekend, and I truly believe this guy made a very good point on Tristan McKenzie. His name is Matt Dallas.
Oh, was it about it? It's not his velo, it's his command.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
he said
I saw that.
he said it's a command issue, not a lack of arm health. He's so mechanically out of whack, and it's incredibly hard to fix that midseason. I hate to say it, but it almost needs like he almost needs to shadow an IL stint or get himself at the complex, right at the complex.
Yeah.
And I completely agree because yeah, his top pitch velo of the season was 94 miles an hour this season,
That's not bad.
and that's not bad for a busted up shoulder.
Yeah.
But the thing is like you said, like his command is what's the problem, and I've and this mind you, this guy is a pitching coach, I believe. He has been a pitching coach, and so he said, "Listen, it's a mechanics issue. It's a control issue." And I made this point. Last week.
Yeah.
Do what Ben Lively did. He doesn't have a ton of speed, but he focuses on his command and on his pitch location.
And guess
that's
what? He
where
wins those games. Yeah.
And that's what wins his games because he's striking people out, and everyone's like, his top
He's
velo
getting
is only
ground
90.
balls. He's getting pop flies. He's getting outs. That's all that matters. You don't have to have 12 strikeout games in order to win games for us.
You don't need to turn into Bybee and have a 12 strikeout performance. Just do what Ben Lively does. Paint the corners, paint the top and the bottom of the zone. Get your ground balls and flyouts. His top fastball has gone, 90, 91 barely?
Yeah.
Who cares? You don't need to have an insane velo. And I think Tristan is trying. Don't get me wrong. I think he's really trying hard. And you could tell in his interviews and stuff like that, like he wants to break down because he feels like he's not contributing. And
well, because he's not.
well, to be fair, yeah. But
yeah.
I think in those interviews, if you listen, he's saying I'm trying to control my pitches. But I think with my shoulder being fucked up, the mechanics are so fucked up that I just lose the ball every once in a while, and I lose a pitch. And I think he's hinting at unless I get surgery, that's not going to get fixed. Yeah. So it's not so much he needs surgery for velo like people think. He needs surgery so he can fix his command. Because again, he was one of the best pitchers with commands in the Guardian system. He could command his pitches, he could command his fastball, he could command his slider, curveball, whatever. He can't anymore. And it leaves meatballs right over the heart of the plate that get demolished. And again, it's so much not his fault. It's just he needs surgery and he can't because the Guardians have to rely on him to make starts so that way they have a pitcher on the mound. Otherwise, we're going to continue to see Xavier Curry on the mound to start, and we don't want that. To be honest, I'd rather have an injured McKenzie on the mound than Xavier Curry. at least if I see Mackenzie's name instead of Curry's, I'd be a little delighted. I'd be like, oh,
Yeah,
thank God we actually have a real pitcher and not a fucking guy who comes up every so often that gets hung by 10 or whatever. And it's like,
yeah.
good job, buddy. Your bullpen start.
Right.
Like, we don't need no more bullpen starts. And I think that's why we're waiting for Gavin Williams in the deadline, because we can get a pitcher at the deadline, get Gavin Williams, and we can tell Tristan, listen, get your surgery, get
Yeah.
healthy. We'll work on your command when you get back. Or, like,
Use an IL stint
yeah, that
and
guy
see if
said,
you can work with it. You know, work with him.
if you can get him on a 30-day IL stint before All Star break, you could probably have him back by the playoffs
Yeah.
and be like, listen, just for these days, just work on command. Just work on your command. Don't worry about velo. Don't worry about how hard you throw. Just work on painting the corners, getting that slider down in the way, getting that fastball up high into the zone or on the corners. Let's work on your command. Let Carl Willis take him into the rooms and let him just throw and let him practice and let him get his shit together.
Yep.
Because I think Carl Willis is trying to, but it's hard to when you have to start every 5 days. And it's like, well, shit, I only got 5 days. I can't get it all done. Like, I need time. Like, I need days off. And so I think once you see Gavin Williams back and you see the Guardians trade for a pitcher, you'll see Carrasco move to the bullpen for a longer relief pitcher, especially now that he's actually starting to figure it out again. And I think you'll see Tristan McKenzie go either on a season ending IL stint to get surgery, or you see him at least go 15, 30 days to work on control and command and see what he can do, if not 60-day.
Yeah. So I mean, he is a guy that like, if he can really turn it around, he is the X factor for this team.
Yeah, and you can get
Because
him a deal, a
when
smaller
he's on,
deal.
he's on. Yeah,
Yeah.
when he's on, he's on. But when he sucks like this right now, it's rough because he's not even getting out of 2 innings at this point now.
No.
His last outing was probably one of the roughest ones he's had so far.
Yeah, and I was there to witness, and it was awful.
And it sucks for Vogt because like he's in a like in a spot
He
where
has
like
to keep starting him.
he's got to keep starting him because he doesn't really have a choice. But also it's
Again,
like
again, it's either him or Xavier Curry.
yeah, and it's
And I
like
think he'd rather have Tristan McKenzie than Xavier Curry.
so it's like it's almost like he's either waiting for him to sort of have it figured out, or maybe you try to switch up who's having to catch for him because, and I'll go back to even Carrasco. Carrasco pitch is better when Hedges is his
It's
catcher,
behind the plate, yeah.
and so see who he has a better relationship with. Even if it ends up being Fry, I don't care. Whoever he prefers to pitch with,
I think everyone's got a
Let him
better
go.
connection with David Fry.
yeah, yeah. But I mean, you know, with certain guys, like especially Bybee, I feel like Bo Naylor's always going to be the guy that he's going to want to
Oh,
have
God,
right there. So, like, again, that's what Vogt knows. And I think Vogt is still trying to find that maybe. But it's also up to him to be like, hey, you know what? Let's try to make this switch and see if that helps you with your command alone. But again, if McKenzie really can't get it figured out, he has to make the decision to either go on IL and go get some work done, or literally go get the fucking surgery that you should have gotten last year anyway, because it's not like he even came back, last year. And if had he gotten the surgery, he would have probably came back in the same amount of time that he did anyway. It's
Yeah.
weird. It's a very weird choice that he made. Don't know why he did it, because then you kind of put yourself in the same position that Bieber was in last year before he got rehurt, where Bieber struggled a lot with his velo, but he still had some command. And even when you go back to guys like Kluber, it's not like Kluber was throwing 95 plus mile an hour heaters. He was a guy that was throwing 90-mile-per-hour cutters, but that was his shit, and he worked the
That
plate
shit.
all day long, and that's what made him so deadly, and that's what made Bieber so deadly. Cliff Lee was a guy that didn't throw heaters. He wasn't like CC, where CC could throw heaters, but he also had great breaking balls. The guys just had the command that you need as an ace, and I don't know if McKenzie has the command, but he has the ability to quite literally be a Cy Young guy. But for right now, the 1000% ace right now is Bybee. Bybee is the guy. He's been playing a lot better as of recent. His last few outings, he's gone 6, 7 innings. He's striking out 7 to 10 guys, and he's keeping the runs, scored low. And meanwhile, the Guardians, they're always, except for today. I mean, today they only they only scored 2 hits or two runs on 5 hits, but they've been hitting the shit out of the ball. So you know that these guys are going to come ready to play anyway. So you
Um,
just hope that he can keep it going, man, for real.
I do have a small update on Gavin Williams.
Okay.
Uh, 2 days ago, Williams will make another rehab start with AAA Columbus on Wednesday tonight, but tonight got postponed due to, I think, weather
Yeah,
issues.
Rand. Yeah, it
Um,
did.
so the game will be tomorrow at noon, where Gavin Williams will make a start. So he will start tomorrow, and this is from Zach Meisel of the Athletic. Williams got built up to 67 pitches in his last rehab outing, with Columbus striking out 4 over 5 innings and only giving up 1 run. The Guardians would like to get him stretched out just a little bit more before likely reinserting him into the rotation next week. Williams has been out all season with the right elbow injury, so it sounds like he might be back for the homestand. They just
July
probably
4th. Yeah.
he's got up to about 70 pitches, and I think they just wanted to see how. I think this game they might see how long he can just go for a full start, and just be like, listen, full start. We'll just see how long you can go, how many pitches you can make, and we'll try and get you above 70 if we can. And I think he'll be back in the rotation within the next week for the homestand. So it sounds like Gavin Williams will be pitching tomorrow, and he will be likely inserted within the next week or two back into the rotation.
That's great news. Um, So, I mean, I'm ecstatic to hear that because
Yeah.
we've been waiting for that for the last month anyway. Like, he was in Double A, I think, last week.
Yeah, just
Um,
that's because Joey Cantillo started the day on the same day as Gavin Williams, and they just had Cantillo go in Columbus and Gavin going in Akron, so that way both of them can make a start and pitch. Which I'm trying to find um Cantillo updates, but I don't see much of Cantillo updates. So I guess I'll continue to look for a minute, but I mean, yeah. So the good news is that Gavin Williams is most likely ready to go, ready to come back up, and he's been upwards of 70 pitches. So I think that's great news to hear.
that's outstanding. So that's good. That is the best news that we could have heard. So, with him having to come up, maybe you do see McKenzie make that choice. Who knows? Um, but I think if you don't give McKenzie the option to, I think Vogt has to make a decision there as well to be like, hey, I'm gonna make the executive decision. Let's put you on IO for 30 days or whatever. Let's
Mm-hmm.
get you in some work. Let's go figure out what's going on mentally for you. Take the break away from the game itself and playing games. Let's get back to basics and let's work on your shit. And then when you're ready, not when I think you're ready, when you're ready, come back up. We'll slowly integrate you, bring you back up, and then things will get better. And if that does, and especially if you can get him right around playoff time, that is a starting five you do not want to face. It really isn't. Because when you get rid of Carrasco and you even have four guys, starting, you have Bybee, Williams, Ben Lively as your top three guys, at least, and then McKenzie would be your fourth, and then your fifth guy would be Logan Allen, whoever. Great, that's perfect. Because usually in the playoffs, anyway, you only have 3 or 4 guys max that are going to start for you because you start every like 3 days pretty much. So it's possible, but the Guardians need to make that decision, and so I hope that they
Yeah.
don't waste a lot of time in trying to make that decision.
Yeah, and I've got nothing on Cantillo. I don't know if he's making another start soon, so we'll see. But the bigger news is that Gavin Williams likely to come back within the next week or two, which is perfect. So, great news ahead
Yeah,
for the Guardians,
absolutely.
and maybe we can allow Mr. McKenzie just to get some needed rest and allow him to do what, and just allow Gavin Williams to kind of take over his position, because I think you can keep Carrasco as a starter for a little longer.
So I mean, not really too much else to say tonight. Honestly, like we have been talking for a lot. But before we do end. I do want to shout out something. It's going to be some changes happening here soon. Some visual changes. We hired a editor to help us with an overlay because I'm sure if you guys have noticed slightly, we don't have that stupid logo in the corner for the StreamYard logo. We don't have that anymore because we made some changes, and so we're working with an editor right now. She's currently working on some sketches for the overlay, and apparently a logo as well. So we're gonna have the logo as well. So overall, getting ready to have some changes, which especially is nice because we're having football season 75 days away now. It's coming.
Yep.
I was just watching Browns highlights earlier today, getting ready for it. So, gonna have a little bit of a visual upgrade for the podcast. So I'm excited about that. Like
Hell yeah.
we had a lot of people, reach out to us last week after I had tweeted about it. So shout out to everybody that wanted to work with us. I'm sorry that I couldn't even. I mean, I couldn't even answer more than like a couple people because I was so damn busy this week. But appreciate everybody that really that reached out to us. I'm really excited to work with the person that we decided to go with. She's awesome. She's got a great you know mindset to everything, and it's going to be fun to see her final sketches to some of this stuff. So we're really excited about that. So look out for that probably next week or even the week after. I'm really not going to put a timetable on it because I don't want her to feel stressed.
Right.
But this is the first time we've done anything like this. So I want everybody to just be chill. I don't want anybody to be stressed about anything. So we will see you guys next week, hopefully with some more visual changes. And Andrew, we're 40 episodes in, man, and it's only going to continue. So
Yes, sir.
we'll see you guys next week.